I saw a YouTube video that showed that California was showing a lot of water depletion. Could you explain to me a little more about that?
Sure.
And what other areas in the U.S. are showing water depletion?
Sure. Well, so we used this GRACE mission, this NASA satellite mission, to track water storage changes on land. One of the things that we've found is that groundwater is being depleted at a very rapid clip in California's Central Valley, which is a heavy agricultural region, and a lot of groundwater is used for irrigation. So we were able to quantify the rates of depletion over a large area, which is something that really hasn't been done before. And again, the rates of groundwater depletion are such that we need to take action before we run out of water. There are other places in the United States that are experiencing similar amounts of groundwater depletion. The High Plains Aquifer, which is the nation's biggest aquifer, which runs through Texas, the Texas Panhandle, and Oklahoma, and Kansas, and Nebraska, so the whole Central Plains area. The southern part of that is being depleted also at a very rapid rate, and so we need to be careful to manage that water wisely so we have enough for the long term and we can still grow food. And more recently, the drought in the southeastern part of the country and even into Texas has had a big impact on groundwater depletion because, by definition, with the drought, you're not getting any rainfall. So it's very natural to rely on our groundwater resources more heavily. So during drought, we always see a lot of groundwater depletion. So the southeastern U.S. is one that's losing a lot of groundwater right now.
That's very interesting. And something that you do that's very good work, and it's really very interesting, is that you're saying that we have to stop it now. We have to be proactive
Yes,
in what we do.
that's
because
right.
When people, you said this in your movie, when they turn on the tap and no water comes out,
Right.
that's when they're going to get really worried. But
Right.
it's too late by
It
then.
is too
So
late.
it's very interesting that we really do have to be very proactive.
We do, and part of my job is to educate people. That's why I'm in town now, to give a public lecture and hopefully help spread the word about the sorts of things that we're seeing with these satellite data, and try to let people know that some of these problems that we hear about in other parts of the world are happening right now in the United States.
How can we improve presently how we measure our water supply?
So that's an excellent question, and I think most people don't realize that our water supply is not super well measured. If you think about what's there, there's the storage part, so there's the water that's in the rivers and the lakes and the groundwater, and there's the inflows and the outflows like precipitation and evaporation and stream flow. Precipitation is measured very well. We don't need huge improvements there. Evaporation, on the other hand, is something that's very difficult to measure, and we don't have a lot of ground-based measurements. It's something where we need to place a lot more energy and effort into measuring. Stream flow is measured well in the United States. We have the U.S. Geological Survey that does a great job of making stream flow measurements, but it's not true in the rest of the world. So there's many surprising number of river basins that are ungauged, and so that's something that we have to tackle as a global community. So that's sort of the inflows and the outflows. The water that's there, say the groundwater, we can tell with satellites like GRACE what their rates of change are. We can tell from a network of wells, again mostly in the United States, how the storage is changing. The one thing that we really don't know, though, is how much water is there. How much groundwater, for example, is actually in the ground. The only way to really figure that out is by drilling to the bottom of these aquifers, and that's something that we haven't done in the United States, in part because we haven't had a need to. The population hasn't been as big. Climate change issues weren't as compelling as they are today. The drought, of course, huge drought like we had this year, is really, again, raising awareness.
Wow.